barrel or nah. Coming off of last week's, we mentioned having tons of feedback from last week's sitting shotgun as a male. Somebody said, quote, being married for over 25 years, I am more than happy to have my wife drive. I spent many a year being berated on how terrible my driving is. Judge all you want. Life is good in the passenger seat. Love the work. Keep working. Love the show.
Yeah, good note.
Somebody else commented too. They're like, it's the princess position and it feels great to be the princess. A male commented like, that is kicking back. I could drink all I want at dinner. I get to kick back. I could take naps on long drives. You guys are tripping by trying to hold the position of power.
I mean, all of this is true. Like, this is, again, this is a me problem. This is an internal tick that is broken.
Yep. Well, here comes a call in related to that.
David, Chaz, this is Chris from Jersey calling in for the Grit in response to your recent barrel or nah around riding shotgun to your either wife or girlfriend. There's one aspect you guys did not address, and that is what type of car are we talking about here? For example, I have a Tacoma, got bigger wheels on it, little camper shell, it's the adventure rig. The gas mileage sucks. During the week, I'm not driving that thing. So, being a two-car household, I'll take my wife's car, which is a little crossover type deal. Definitely would be interpreted more as a woman's car, and I'm usually riding shotgun in that. So here's the thing, what's worse, riding shotgun in a Kia Soul or actually driving the Kia Soul? Want to hear your thoughts? Keep up the work.
Great question.
Great question. Entirely good question. Feminine cars, masculine cars, and he brings up because of course, if you are riding a shotgun in the Subaru Outlander, then your wife is a lesbian.
Is that a car?
No.
Outback.
Outback, that's what it is. Just kidding. The Subaru lesbian thing. It's not a very funny joke.
Sorry, I stepped on it anyways by
it's all good.
giving
But
the proper name of the car.
I was trying to think of a classically feminine car.
Well, he nailed. I mean, a Jetta. Let's say
Jetta. Yeah. So is it? I mean, because if you're shotgunning your Jetta, then everybody clearly knows that that's your girl's car. If you're driving the Jetta, then people think, oh, you bought a Jetta. I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say it's barrel to ride shotgun in girly cars.
All right.
For a man.
Yeah. I mean, what's worse is the question: riding shotgun in it, or because neither of them are barrel. And this isn't a barrel or not, by the way. This is just a feedback from last week. But what's the worst position is either being shotgun in the Kia Soul or driving the Kia Soul.
I'm gonna say driving the Kia Soul
is worse.
Worse.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree, and that's
great.
I mean, and if you're, it is a little bit difficult to assign a gender to a car, but there's a lot of females who drive, let's say, Volkswagen Jettas in Southern California. And what's worse is if they adorn them. They might have eyelashes on the headlights or something, dangling off of the rear view mirror, something that marks it as a female's car.
Feminine car.
In that case, you want to be in the shotgun position.
It's really true. It's really true. And I'm glad that this wrinkle got thrown in because it's an important one.
Exactly. There was a bunch of other wrinkles that people threw in. They're like, my wife, Miguel from the Canary Islands is like, I think he said his wife's from Peru. They go down there. It's nightmare to drive in Peru. So she knows those roads and that pattern of traffic differently. So she drives when they're in Peru, but when they're at home in the Canaries, he drives. All sorts of stuff like that. Okay, but as it relates, you mentioned running earlier in the show. I got an email a month ago from a PR person who's for Vivo Barefoot, whatever. John John's
new sponsor.
Yeah, John John's new thing. He's got three shoes that he's doing with them, and they're like, hey, we want to send you a pair of shoes and whatever. And I'm like, oh, cool. And they're like, you should interview the founder of the company who's like focused on barefoot running, and these shoes are made to support barefoot. They protect your feet, but they're essentially like you're running barefoot. And I'm like, man, is it worth it for a $200 pair of shoes if I got to interview this guy? You know what I mean? And I'm like, yeah, you know what? Keep the shoes. No thanks. But running barefoot is the question. You're a runner. There's a whole thing. There's a whole movement for running barefoot. So Beryl and I are running barefoot.
Oh my goodness. I mean, I would have thought. So like those like what the who are the great Kenyan runners, right? Like
Yeah.
they run barefoot in Kenya, I think a bunch, but then they like you never see them in a marathon running barefoot, I don't think, right? So there must be value to running in shoes. So I'm gonna say no barrel. I'm gonna say running barefoot is a gimmick.
I want to know more. I should just read one of the book that was written on it or whatever. Because the idea of like being grounded and connected to the earth and all that, like there is something there that is interesting to me. And I think that that's where the Vivo guy is like,
Gets it
okay,
wrong.
there's something here that's interesting, but you need to protect your feet from, glass in the street
Here's-
or whatever it is.
Well, I mean, here's the thing though. If being barefoot is all so great, which again, I totally like being in the earth, right? Like touching the soil, all this, I totally get. And I am a fan of running around barefoot around the home, like not actually running. But if I'm doing a thing that requires shoes, I don't get the point of these barefoot shoes, right? Like, on anyway, like if you're putting a shoe on, then you're defeating the purpose. So then the shoe should A, be comfortable, and B, protect your foot, right? Like,
Yeah.
which again, kid was one of those kids who rarely ever wore shoes. Went to like hippie preschool, so didn't have to wear shoes to preschool, like was barefoot, 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 barefoot. And I always thought, this is great. She's getting really strong feet from this, and this is a good thing, right? If you choose to be barefoot. And I think she does have really strong feet and all that, but her ballet teacher will excoriate her if she comes in anything other than like a highly cushioned, shoe, like, or Crocs. Like they're allowed to wear Crocs because the way your foot moves in Crocs, I guess, is good for it, and it's super comfy. But she's always, ballet teacher, is saying, your feet in ballet, your feet are your tool. Protect your tool, right? Yeah. What are you doing? And that made me think, oh yeah, if it comes to, if a ballet teacher is saying protect these things, don't just run around barefoot because it strengthens your feet, protect them, then there must be something to protection. So I'm going to say, again, it sounds like a gimmick, no barrel.
It sounds like there's benefits to running barefoot and there's benefits to shoes. And the benefits to shoes are tremendous and the benefits for running barefoot are narrow.
Yeah.
Right? It's like,
yes.
Yeah, there you tap into the earth, right? But then you're subject to stepping on glass and then, your knees are going to get ruined because you don't have the cushion or whatever it is. And so it's like, okay, I see there are some benefits, but dang, those benefits to shoes are like 99% benefit. I have an old pair of shoes that I've been running in and they've been a little bit problematic. And then the other day I did something wrong and my knees, oh my God, I got home from my run and I was like, my knees, I had to ice them and they still hurt the next day. So I got a brand new pair of shoes that I just wore this morning for the first time. Phenomenal.
Back in the game.
I mean, the moment I put them on, I'm like, they're Hoka's,
Yep.
which I think we've talked about in the past, but I'm like, these things are so good. This is like the perfect shoe for running or for my foot, I guess, for running. And this morning's run, no issues with my knees whatsoever. Felt amazing.
Yeah, no, barefoot is not the way to go. And also you tapped into a great or interesting thing. Like I will regularly get the PR emails too of a pair of sunglasses or, this, that, or the other thing. And, great for all the entrepreneurs out there going out, starting businesses, these small businesses, love it all. But like the lift of, I don't know what they think. Like, I don't know what they think I do. The thought of writing an article or interviewing someone on a podcast or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, for a free pair of sunglasses. I mean, if Louis Vuitton was going to send me, it said, hey, we're going to send you, we got this new trunk coming out or something, this fancy bag. Would you interview? I'd say, great. That is a stinking $3,000 bag all day, every day. for the $50 pair of sunglasses, I will pull. You can buy advertising. There's this thing called. I'm a small business too, man. You can buy advertising, but
Yeah.
your thing is not worth it for me. I would look foolish writing about it to begin. How am I going to tie it into something? All of a sudden, I'm going to say, "Oh, there's this new pair of sunglasses that doesn't have arms. Great."
Right.
Like,
Right.
I mean,
Well, she said, the PR woman said, like, the founder of the company is a surfer, and all of these kind of tie-ins to our world.
fine.
But even still, I was like,
Buy
yeah, that's
advertising.
yeah, exactly. That's an hour-long interview, maybe usually a 90-minute long interview. I'm not sure that.
A pair of barefoot shoes.
Well, more importantly, like, my listeners want to hear, a certain quality of insight into the context of the world that we're discussing from week to week, and I'm not sure this fits in.
Why did John? It's his first shoe sponsor in a long time, if I am correct. And it was funny to me that this is what he chose. Like John Florence, I guess, is nothing if not unique, odd.
Oh yeah, I don't think it's so much a shoe sponsor. It's like he has 3 shoes, a line of shoes with them. 3 different shoes for his lifestyle, and so that's more of the deal. I don't think it's just a sponsor relationship like it is with so many others. By the way, somebody pointed out something funny about. They're like, you guys do Kook or Curran because Curran is so far out there that he then reconnects on the other side of the planet with Kooks. Even though they're on opposite sides, they're like touching hands.
Yep.
They're like, Kelly is it should be Kelly Slater or Curran, or I'm sorry, Kelly or Kook, because Kelly's equally as crazy, but like Tom Curran, he wears the visor with socks sewn onto them to cover his ears from the sun, but he doesn't try to sell it to you.
Yeah.
Like
true.
he does it for himself. Kelly having a moon, turtle moon sandal, a turtle moon sandal
I like turtles.
is
crazy, as Tom Curran's is, but then he tries to sell it to you.
Yeah, I mean, I
Like
think
he's
Tom,
become more Curran than Curran.
I think Tom knows that he moves to the beat of his own drummer. Kelly doesn't know that. I think Kelly, I don't know what, Kelly's self-awareness is strange, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, there is something there, though. We'll develop that into a future concept.
That's good.
Barrel or not, number 2. This came from a listener. Posting on social media to alert that you're taking a break from social media.
No barrel. Like, using social media for really anything other than the occasional making people laugh, looking at, the occasional post of children, the occasional, like, social media is good for one thing and one thing only, basically. And it's to keep up with your extended circle, right? You can tap in, and or I will also say the secondary is to get informational, and tertiary art or something, music, right?
I was going to say tertiary, laughing at memes.
Yeah, laughing at memes. I mean, laughing at memes is probably primary, to be honest. But the thing to not do on social media is be serious and self involved. See Jonah Hill's ex, Sarah Brady, who I think she's gone quiet. Let's see.
No, she posted something like 2 days ago in a bikini, doubling down on the fact that this is an old bikini shot that I'm reposting because now
I saw that her she hasn't done it. She's story free for the last 48 at least hours.
Oh, maybe the last 48, but a couple days ago she was still posting, and it was a bikini thing.
But I don't know. It's as quiet as I've seen her go in a while. But in any case, to be crazy self-involved on social media is not the thing to be. That's the one thing not to do, I suppose. There's a lot of things to do. There's one real thing not to do, and it's that. And and so telling people, like anyone cares. Who cares? Just take your dang break. Nobody cares.
So it is amazing that you think you need a break from social media, and so you're going to engage on social media to tell everybody that you're taking a break. But the other one that I like is when people come back from the break and they go, hey, I'm back. I just took a little hiatus. Whew, it was much needed. You should take time off social media. And I'm like, I didn't even know you were missing.
No.
So
that's
like,
the thing.
who gives a crap? This is all about you.
Yeah, the self-involvement, the
Yeah.
complete unaware that everybody that you think somehow that social media has clicked to your brain that you think people care, right? That
Right.
you think people genuinely, I mean, they might care about you in a passive, shallow way.
Yeah.
They weren't wondering where you went, and now that you're back, and especially the way the algorithm goes, the fact that it's not linear anymore, and so you could get the I'm taking a break and I'm back Instagrams fed to you algorithmically in the same exact scroll, right? Like
Right.
there's no rhyme or reason to the way, or I'm sure there's a rhyme or reason, but nobody knows it. It's not like it's yeah chronological.
Right. Yeah. Pretty silly. Don't do it. That's definitely a no barrel.
No barrel.
Speaking of memes and Jonah Hill, you saw the photos of him looking super super slim, right? The
Yep.
paparazzi photos where he's like
Very.
smiling, looks so happy.
Yep.
Somebody made a meme and they said that feeling when your girlfriend is not surfing with men. And he's just beaming.
That's real good stuff. Yeah.
The internet remains undefeated, dude.
I mean, very, very always funny.
Always funny. All right, final barrel or not? Botox for men.
No barrel. No barrel.
I have I won't say who, close friend, who's getting talked into it from his wife. And he absolutely does not need it. He absolutely is too young to ever need it. And he's going for it because his wife is into it and she makes him think that he needs it. And I'm like, God dang. First of all, hell no. And secondly, how am I even finding out about this? You should never admit this publicly. If you are doing this, the fact that this is now public conversation is shameful. Like,
Absolutely shameful.
insane, right?
I mean, I think publicly, any pampering, and I've said this before, any pampering for a man is a no barrel. From manicures and pedicures to like the most pampering you as a man are allowed to do is get your hair cut. Every
What
once
about
in a
your
while,
expensive Gucci loafers? That qualifies as pampering.
well, but that's like quality stuff. That's quality of life right there. That's I'm talking about like sure buy yourself nice stuff. That's fine. But don't like have procedures done to you. Besides, you get your hair cut, and every once in a while you get a nice hot shave. Right? When was the last time you had a towel in the face hot shave?
I don't think ever.
Oh wow. I mean, yeah, it's hard. It's weird to get here because you have to go to like a fussy barber. I think like
Yeah.
Middle East or whatnot. Right? They're just everywhere. Like you can just go get your shave. Feels good. In any case, facials, no. Any kind of anything, Botox, definitely no. Zero. He's going to regret it so badly, your poor friend. He's going to come out with a shiny forehead. Is it for forehead wrinkles or what's it
I
for?
think so. Yeah, I think it is.
He's going to come out with like a billboard shiny forehead, and it's going to be awkward. And
gonna s-
his wife is going to, or girlfriend is going to stop liking him.
I agree with that too. I'm like,
Yeah.
whatever the, I don't know, perceived goal here is, will not get executed. And in fact, it'll create this perpetual slide downward of like trying to chase this thing that you are now never going to chase again. You just never need to step on the slippery slope. I am going to send him Griffin Colapinto's post because
should.
that's what this is about. This is chasing this thing that will always be fleeting and thinking that catching it will make you feel a certain way.
It will
You
not.
should never be chasing it. You should figure out what it is that you're trying to feel and then do something meaningful that will embed that feeling deep within. You know what I mean? But the superficial thing and going and getting the needle in your face to try to make you feel a certain way is just the wrong thing. And actually being convinced into it by somebody else
Worse.
is embarrassing.
I mean, and by significant other, more embarrassing. I mean, that's not what she doesn't like that. She may think she likes that. She might think she wants you to look like, you know, whatever, Brad Pitt or something, right? Like, and so she has this image in her mind, but that image is not you with Botox. It's Brad Pitt, and those
Exactly.
twain shall never meet. And so what you can do though is attitudinally adjust and be cooler or be more, you know, something. Like
Yeah.
what she wants is not a shiny foreheaded man. That's what
Right.
she thinks she wants.
I know. I was really aghast. And
Yeah.
I was like, wait, is this a
Shocking.
thing? Like, are dudes getting
I
Botox
hope
now?
not. And I would love for somebody to call in. Like, I know that some people get Botox for migraines, I think. So
That's right.
if you're doing it for medically somehow, then that's one thing. But if you're doing it cosmetically, for shame. But I would love a caller to, so, as Surf Equity points out, sometimes we're not all together right. So if you're a man who has had Botox, call in.
Well, we've only discussed male and female Botox. How do you feel about non-binaries getting Botox or other identifying getting Botox? Should we include everybody in this conversation?
Can we go for another 45 minutes just talking about all variations of the rainbow
I think we
and
should.
how Botox relates to them?
I think we should.
Exciting. Okay, strap in.
That's the show everybody wants. All right. Well, send the emails to chaz@beachgrit.com.
Yep, please, thank you. Please and thank you.
All right. Well,
Slash Puppets of the Manosphere. We should really change the name of the show to Puppets of the Manosphere.
I also, by the way, that would be a way better show. That is a way better name. The other thing that you mentioned at the top of the show is them stop dead naming me or whatever it is. I'm like, barrel or not, complaining when people get your name wrong.
I mean,
Like,
hey,
I mean, I understand like the plight of the community, and so the dead naming thing has kind of a weight to it that I don't understand because I've never lived with that. But good God,
somebody,
good
somebody,
God,
somebody in the comments like hit it exactly on the head. They're like, "This is not my issue," but dead naming is for the trans community something that really is impactful, right? It's
yeah,
like it's used what like aggressively by family members or whatever to basically shame
yes,
this transition person,
yeah,
and Surf Equity is using this whole issue to talk about their brand shift, right?
right,
Like, which is, I mean, Mike, if you care about
exactly.
the plight of trans people, to make a mockery, to use something that's really painful as we've rebranded. We're not painting, our name isn't red anymore, it's blue. Like, I mean, it was shameful.
I
Shame on
mean,
Surf Equity.
that's exactly it. This is the phrase dead naming was created for a very purposeful thing that you just talked about. It was an intentional, your family intentionally insulting you,
Yeah.
to shame you. They're using it in the equivalent of, my name's Kirsten, not Kristen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then telling you, like, how dare you call me Kirsten? This is the equivalent of my parents. Like that's the way that it was being used. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Wait, the whole thing is so weird about them, which I'm really confused too. Why they're again? It was the Committee for Equity and Women's Surfing, and now it's Surf Equity, all fine and good. But I still don't understand why their target 90% of the time and 90% of their ire is directed at women. Like it's really a woman-hating organization, which is super bizarre.
Yeah,
Bethany,
bizarre.
they hate Bethany,
Yep, I don't get
hate
any of
Kelly
it.
Kennedy.
I don't get any of it.
Yep.
It's all, but I am
A puppet.
clearly cisgendered. What is it?
Cisgendered white male.
But what is the other
Oh, puppets of the Manosphere.
puppets of the manosphere? So
Yep.
that's why I don't understand anything anymore. But
Yep.
whatever. All right, man.
Sorry
Hey,
about
good show. Good show. Go to beachgrit.com. Go to surfsplendorpodcast.com. Thank you for all the support. Thank you to our sponsors, by the way. Buell, I didn't even mention. Well, I referred to them, obviously giving away the wetsuit at the end of the month. But buellsurf.com is where you go for all your wetsuited needs.